Good morning, students. We're here again for an English language class JS1005. Topic: Introduction to Literature. The instructional objectives are: by the end of the lesson, students should be able to 1. Define literature. 2. Outline at least 3 features of literature. And 3. Name and explain the 2 major types of literature. The instructional materials we use in this lesson are: 1. New Concept English for Junior Secondary School, Book 1. Again, An Introduction to Literature for Schools and Colleges by S.A. Igwebike. And 3. Exam Vision Literature in English for BESE and JSCE by Chekwube Obioma Eze. Now we start by defining literature. We say, what is literature? Literature can be seen as a work of art that mirrors through the use of language. By this, it means that literature exposes human deeds, feelings, and experiences in the world. It tells us about the things that happen in the world in which we live. For instance, when you look at the mirror, you see exactly how you look. Therefore, literature shows exactly what the society looks like by studying man's successes and failures, his strengths and weaknesses, and how these are affected by time and environment. Yes, like we said, the mirror tells you how you look, and that is exactly the work of literature. It also tells us, or rather shows us, what the society looks like by studying man's successes and failures, as well as his strengths, his weaknesses, and how these are affected by time and the environment. Literature can also be seen as an experience of one's mind or feelings through poetry, prose, or drama. Most literary works are records of what happened to people or the way they felt at a point in time. Some of the experiences could trigger songs, and you see someone putting down lyrics. You know what we mean by lyrics? We have said it. Songs. So when it triggers these songs, you see people putting them down. Sometimes you can lie on your bed looking at the ceiling, and suddenly you begin to think about your room or an aspect of your life. And this can lead to a very long writing about the life of the person or other happenings about them. For example, the novel Ogadimma. Remember, we have treated Ogadimma. It's a recommended novel. The novel Ogadimma mirrors the life of the poor girl Ogadimma from birth to the day of her graduation from university. Drama is another way in which man's experiences are mimicked by others to show exactly what happened to someone or somebody in the past and how it happened. When you act, you show, or rather you kind of imitate man's experiences or what exactly happened to that person in the past and how it happened. To some people, literature is a written piece which tells a story about people, things, experiences, places, which can be fiction or non-fiction, with the aim of entertaining, informing, or criticizing the activities of man in relationship with others in form of a poetry, drama, or prose. For example, the poem, Old Roger is dead and gone to his grave. Gone to his grave. They planted an apple tree over his head. This poem is both entertaining and informative as well. When you read this poem, you see yourself being entertained and you learn a lot of things while reading the poem. Also, the life and daily experiences of the poor girl Ogadimma, as recorded in the novel Ogadimma, is both educating and entertaining. Literature is also as old as man, which means that immediately man was created, he started acting. We are made to understand that man was the first being God assigned a role to. This is recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26, where man was assigned to rule over all creatures. Having known what literature means, we can now go to the features of literature. We have some features of literature. For example, 1, characters. Literature uses people, objects, animals, and other things to represent or present experiences. You cannot do literature or write literature or think of literature without making use of people, without making use of objects, without making use of animals and other things to represent or present experiences. 2, literature makes use of language. Literature expands the use of language by breaking rules and by including the language of many social classes. Literature makes use of language at every level. So you cannot write literature without making use of language. Then 3, it also makes use of a variety of styles. It uses a variety of styles and refuses to be limited to one continuous and unrelieved approach to the subject, with the use of figures of speech, symbols, and conventional motifs to elaborate and complicate narrative form. So what we're trying to say is that you have your peculiar style. So when you're writing literature, you use that style that is peculiar to you. And you bring in other devices to accomplish it, like figures of speech, symbols, and other styles, other devices to accomplish it. Then 4, literature introduces humor. It makes you understand that humor and sarcasm are mighty weapons to be taken seriously. Yes. You know, we normally use humor, we normally use sarcasm to ridicule and correct the ills in the society. They are very mighty weapons to be used. Then 5, literature challenges us to rethink our humanity and our relationship to society and the larger universe we live in. You have to rethink your humanity from what happened to other people. You now think of your own and your own relationship with other society at large. Literature makes one think and wonder beyond his immediate environment and circumstances. And this quality has no correlation with the number of pages. No matter the number of pages you write, it does not mean that you are achieving it. But as you're doing it, you will see that you are thinking about people around you, about other things around you. It makes one know that there are so many other realities to know. You don't limit the world to yourself. You extend it to others. to what happened to others, and you have a rethink of your own. Then 6, influence. The work is such important, that is, influence in this work is of such importance that it exercises an influence on other artists working in the medium, either stylistically or through its exploration of themes. So it influences others to work in this field or in different fields. Now, having seen the features of literature, let us go to the types of literature. We have 2 main types of literature. The first one is oral literature. These are stories, ideas, culture, jokes, riddles, etc. that are passed on orally from one generation to another without documentation by specified authors. You know, in the olden days, we tell stories, we have cultures, we have jokes, riddles, and so on, which are passed orally from one generation by our forefathers to us, that are not documented by any author. So these are the oral literature that we're talking about. It exists before the advent of reading and writing, and still exists in informal gatherings among rural dwellers. It was the means through which our forefathers preserved our culture and values. So by doing this, our forefathers were able to keep this, our culture and values, because they have passed it from one generation to the other down to us. Its greatest disadvantage was that it was prone to modifications and thus lost value as time went on. So because they were not documented, you find out that you cannot modify them. And because of that, they lost value as time went on. Then the second one is the written literature. The written literature. The other one was oral. That means it's just said by word of mouth. But here it is written. These are all the work of acts that are written and have authors. It was brought about by civilization and introduced documentation of stories by authors who were responsible for every single information they have put down. These writings brought many talented people into literature. So because they are written and documented, and the reason why it was so was because there was civilization, and whatever these authors put down, they are solely responsible for that single information. And as a result of that, we see so many talented people coming into literature. Now that we have known what literature is, we have seen the features of literature, and we have also seen some types of literature. Can we now take these questions to assess our understanding of the topic? The first question is, what is literature? Be preparing for the answer because I'm coming to that. The second one, what are the features of literature? We mentioned them. And the third one, what are the types of literature? Now let us take the first one. What is literature? Literature is a work of art that mirrors the society through the use of languages. It therefore exposes human deeds, feelings, and experiences in the world which we live in. And that is the answer you gave, so you are correct. 2, The features of literature we talked about. 1, it uses characters. 2, it uses language at every level. 3, it has variety of styles. 4, it introduces humor. 5, it challenges us to rethink our humanity and relationship to the society and the larger universe in which we live in. 5, it influences later artists working in the medium. Then the third one, that's the question that says, what are the types of literature? You first of all start by telling us that there are 2 types. So you are correct there. And the 2 types are oral literature and written literature. Very good. You have done excellently well. I will now give you a take-home assignment which will be treated in our next lesson. And this assignment is, why do we study literature in schools? Why do we study literature in schools? This is something you will do at home as research. Think, ask questions, and come back to this class in our next lesson with the answers, because that is what we will start our next lesson with. At this juncture, we have come to the end of the lesson. Remember my assignment, which you will come with in the next lesson. Thank you, and remain blessed.